everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about the latest film to come to Prime Video, Totally Killer. And this one was directed by Nahatchika Khan, which I'm definitely pronouncing her name wrong, and I'm really sorry about that. So while everybody was going out to the theaters this weekend to see The Exorcist Believer getting their hearts broken by another bad legacy sequel directed by David Gordon Green, there was a nice little hidden gem hidden for us right there on Prime Video, ready to be watched. And this one was a slasher comedy, kind of in the vein of the Fear Street trilogy, Freaky, and even the Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You films, where it was taking place in the 1980s. It's a time travel film, kind of like Happy Death Day, when a young girl, Jamie, happens to be living a regular life. Halloween night, everyone's out and about. This one town that she's living in is haunted by the legacy of the Sweet 16 killer, who back in 1987 and back-to-back nights killed 3 young girls, stabbed them to death 16 times, and from that point on, didn't do another thing. That was it. That person only killed those 3 people wearing a Max Headroom mask. And that's all we know. Nothing ever happened from that point on, but Jamie's mother, Pam, was actually there. She was friends with those 3 girls. So she's been preparing her whole life for the one day where this killer decides to come back and pick her off. And unfortunately, he does come back and he does kill her. And now, mourning the loss of her mother, Jamie has a friend who actually created a time machine for a school project of all things. And she ends up accidentally activating that time machine, sending her back to 1987 just before the original 3 killings took place. And now not only can she save those 3 girls, but she could save her mother as well. And man, this movie took me by surprise. I had no idea it was coming out, and it turned out to be just a fantastic film. It checks a lot of boxes for me personally. I'm a huge fan of time travel movies. My favorite movie of all time is The Terminator, which deals with time travel. I always love movies, even if they're bad time travel movies. If you have the time travel tropes in there, I'm all for that. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of 80s films. 80s slashers are some of my favorite films ever. 80s horror in general, just the 80s. So I absolutely love it. I know people are getting sick of all the 80s homages and movies and TV shows like Stranger Things traveling back to the 1980s. I'm not sick of that yet, and I know it's all nostalgia for me, but I just absolutely love those tropes. So in this movie, them traveling back to 1987, I just ate that up. I absolutely loved it. And it's a slasher on top of that, and it's funny. They're really leaning into all the tropes, and I assume that the fact that they cast Kieran Shipka and all the other teenagers who are supposed to be teenagers in this movie, the reason why they're in their early 20s and it's noticeable is it's leading right into another 1980s trope. There were so many jokes at the expense of the 1980s. These girls, their group is called the Mollies. So if you guys have ever seen the movie Heathers, it's basically just paying homage to that, but they're called the Mollies because of Molly Ringwald. So it's not even just paying homage to 80s slashers or 80s horror. It's just paying homage to the 80s in general. Movies, music, and even just how the 1980s were. That was a big part of this movie, was just the big difference between 1987 and 2023 and how we just treat each other, and how people in the 1980s were just kind of downright rude and mean, and they didn't have the access to technology, and how people just kind of bullied each other. Even people nowadays, like their teachers and the people that they know. This girl Jamie, she knows all these people. She's seen the adult versions of them, but seeing them at 16 to 18 years old and seeing that these people are assholes, and they're the ones who taught me not to bully. I just love that aspect of this movie, the lack of technology and everything that they had to deal with, and how Jamie is trying to, it's a fish out of water film also, while she's also trying to solve these murders. And I thought this movie was actually rated PG-13 until I looked it up, because as far as the gore goes in this movie, there's really not too much of it. Yeah, you see some killings, but they're not as brutal as you'd think for an R-rated horror film. But it's also very well shot. I was worried that this was actually going to look like the movie Freaky and a lot of modern horror films and have that blown out look to the lights where we overexpose them. No, it actually just looks like a really well shot movie. Nothing that's gonna blow you away. Same thing with the story and plot. It's like nothing you haven't seen before, and they're trying to mislead you a little bit and play with the tropes that you already know. And I feel like because of that, it gets a little weighed down and convoluted just to really play with our expectations and do something different, something that we hadn't expected before. And I just feel like it doesn't stick that landing entirely. Although the very end of this movie and how they wrap things up, I absolutely love that. I hadn't seen that done in this way in a time travel movie before, so I really did appreciate that. You get a bunch of 80s music in here, of course, and it's just very well acted. I think everyone did a pretty damn good job in this movie. This really could have been a throwaway, forgettable film. Blumhouse Television, MGM, and Amazon produced this movie. It's distributed on Amazon Prime. This easily could have gone to theaters, but it probably wouldn't have made as much money, and unfortunately, unless they marketed this correctly, it probably wouldn't have done too well. But luckily for us, it's on Amazon Prime, just sitting there, right there for you, and I promise you, you're gonna have a great time watching question is it going to be the most memorable movie? No, probably not. I don't think it reaches the heights of the Fear Street trilogy, and it's nothing that's going to be a highbrow A24 horror film, but it's something that you can watch right now at home, maybe with your significant other, and have a good time during spooky season. So I could definitely recommend this film, and if I was going to give it a score of 1 to 10, I would give this film a pretty damn solid 8 out of 10. And now let's dive into the digital code giveaway for this week. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed my review of Totally Killer, but it's also Monday, and that means it's time for us to pick our 2 digital code giveaway winners. If you happen to stumble to the end of this video and you're wondering what the hell is the digital code giveaway, well, on Friday's video, I always ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you have to do is answer one of those in the comment section, and as long as you do that, you come back to this video every single Monday. We put your name on a magic wheel. We spin that wheel 2 times, and the 2 names it lands on, they have their choice of the digital code that you've seen on your screen before you today. And if you did enter the digital code giveaway and you don't see your name on the magic wheel, well, you won a digital code as well, because you don't have to be punished for my mistake. And I asked you guys, what was your favorite Predator movie? For the most part, we were kind of all over the place. Everybody had different answers. I think only one person picked The Predator, the Shane Black film from a few years ago, which, that one's probably the worst in my opinion as well. But a lot of people pick Predator 2, which is really growing on me. That really checks a lot of boxes for me, so I should love it. But for some reason, something just doesn't click that kind of brings it to the top. But for me, the original Predator is still the best, followed by Prey, then Predator 2. Then after that, you get Predators, The Predator, and then the AVP movies, which actually the first AVP movie, I don't want to sell that one short, is actually pretty good. The sequel is atrocious, but that's really just because they shot it like in the dark. It's just very hard to see. It had potential, but visually it just falls apart. And then I also asked you guys, what was your favorite sci-fi action movie or sci-fi horror movie? Just basically with The Predator, The Terminator, Total Recall, what they were going for, combining a bunch of different genres. Arnold Schwarzenegger loved to play in this playground in the 80s, and that's probably why I'm a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan to this day, because it's capturing Arnold Schwarzenegger, big jacked muscular guy, good enough actor, you know, just oozing charisma, playing around in sci-fi stories, which I just always love. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. If I had to pick a favorite genre, it probably would be sci-fi. It's just we don't really get too many great sci-fi movies anymore like we did back in the 70s and 80s, and even through the 90s. Every once in a while, one creeps through like Arrival that really just rejuvenates me, but it's very rare and far between. So combining that with action and horror, it's just right up my alley. But enough of me rambling on, because I'll do this all day. Let's spin this magic wheel and see who our 2 lucky winners are. First wheel spin coming up.
Taking the elevator, going up. Got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up, I'm coming up.
All right, John Duchamp. John, we're gonna remove you. Spin again.
Taking the elevator, going up. Got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up, I'm coming up.
And the Blu-ray Hunter Searcher. All right, congratulations, John Duchamp and the Blu-ray Hunter Searcher. And I think the Blu-ray Hunter Searcher actually won a few weeks ago, so he's got a lot of luck. And I always feel bad when that happens, when somebody who won pretty recently wins again, but that's kind of the rules of the magic wheel. I can't be biased towards anybody, but I do feel bad for the people who have never won before that enter week after week. I would be that person if I was entering into the giveaway. I've never been lucky enough to win pretty much anything in my entire life. I've been very unlucky. I can never even win on a scratch off, and I try all the time, and I still can't win. So don't feel too bad if you didn't win this week's digital code giveaway. Make sure you come back to this Friday's video, and we will do it all over again. And that's going to be my review for Friday the 13th, Jason Lives, which is my favorite in the entire Friday the 13th franchise. So make sure you come back to Friday's video and answer those 2 digital code giveaway questions so you can enter into next week's giveaway. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and then just get out in those streets and tell your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.